Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is just going to be a video going over a few new collaborations with the X2 Crazylights, with the Randomfrankp, the Boardzy, and I do have the ULX Tarik Prophecy as well. Now, all three of these mice are obviously the newest iterations, the newest batches of these three mice. So I do want to talk about some of the changes in overall build quality from what I experienced from the prior iterations and talk about the consistency, at least since I do have two copies here of the X2 Crazylight, talk about the consistency between the two mice and any differences. But as you can see, you actually do have, with the Randomfrankp colorway, you have some matching items here from X-raypad. You've got matching grips if you like having a set of grips on your mouse, and you do have the new Randomfrankp and X-raypad Jades here that actually are a little bit larger in surface area, and you can see I've got them there on the bottom of my Randomfrankp Crazylight. The one thing I will say though is that they are a little bit on the higher side, so if you do dig into this X-raypad control, aqua control that they have with Randomfrankp, it does dig in a little bit too much and cause some inconsistencies in the general speed and just doesn't really feel all that great. So I would say that, like, with glass pads, they're probably fantastic. Actually, I know they're fantastic. I've been using them on glass, and pads that have a little bit more of a firm base would be what I would use those on. They do feel good as long as you don't apply that downward pressure. And with the aqua pad control, it is a slower surface that does have great stopping power, but it's kind of a basic pad. It does have just a rubber backing. The foam is not of what we see on some of the top of the line pads like Poron, but overall, again, for a desk pad, one of the few on the market that actually few companies on the market that still make desk pads readably, that does still feel good. I mean, the texture here, it is a little bit textured, but on the skin, it doesn't feel abrasive. So it is actually still a nice desk pad despite not having all the bells and whistles. The main star of the show here in this video are going to be the mice. The difference here between the Randomfrankp and the Boardzy, maybe a slight difference in overall texture. The topography here on the Randomfrankp edition, you can feel it ever so slightly on the left side of the mouse as soon as it starts transitioning to some of the finer lines here right before the side button. Overall, though, both mice actually feeling really grippy and better than what I remember the original X2 Crazylight that I received. I recently had the X2 V3 PRX edition, and it does feel like just a really nice coating on both of these mice. With the build quality here, it's definitely better than my X2 Mini V3 PRX that I recently had. The Pulsar switches, the Pulsar opticals, I should say, here feeling really nice in both copies of this mouse and actually very consistent. The Pulsar Blue encoder feels consistent and great in both. Mouse 3 feels right on point on both of these in terms of the force to actuate. And these side buttons just have a tiny bit of pre-travel and tiny bit of post-travel. Everything here feeling actually really buttoned up in terms of the overall experience on both the Boardzy and Randomfrankp editions. And both of these coming in at the same weight, 38 grams. When we get to the ULX Tarik, the ULX is obviously something that I did not have a great copy when I initially purchased my ULX. This has come leaps and bounds from that original ULX. This thing feels really, really buttoned up. It is built like a tank. My side buttons have a little bit of pre-travel, not really a lot of post-travel at all. There's a little bit of wiggle here when you pull them side to side. So if you're somebody who like rests your thumb on there, the side buttons have a little bit of movement, but really nothing that I felt in game. Top shell actually is more durable. It doesn't bend in as readily or as easily as the original ULX. And my side button, or my main buttons, have very little side play and nothing that I felt in game. And these switches here feel just really, really spammable and a joy to use. I think the green and gold accents here look phenomenal, and I think they've done a nice job. The only complaint I have in terms of the aesthetics, for whatever reason, I still have the switch indentation on mouse 1 and mouse 2, and the scroll wheel, like, you can see where the piece of rubber on top, like, there's little indentations for some reason on the rubber in certain areas, and it kind of throws off the aesthetic just a little bit. but really only if you're looking at the scroll wheel. So in general, I think they've done a really nice job, and I'm pleasantly surprised that the cable on the inside is now black instead of the mustard and yellow color. I feel like if you're in the bracket for this size mouse, you might also be interested in the new X2F. And I'll just put these mice side by side so you can really see the difference here of the X2F next to these mice. The Prophecy comes in, my copy, at 36 grams with default skates. And again, both of these coming in at 38 grams. They feel generally like the same weight-wise. Can't really feel like the greatest difference between the weights of the X2s and the Prophecy. Prophecy does feel lighter, but it's very, very, very close. And then you have the X2F. My copy comes in at 40 grams. And like, I know some people are so shocked about the X2F being this small of a fingertip mouse and still being 40 grams. But the thing for me, like when I'm whipping this around in my fingertips, the weight just goes away. It just feels exceptionally light regardless of the overall weight. I know that's going to offend some people, but I mean, you have some great fingertip options here. If you have my size hands, I can fingertip the X2 Crazylight. I can fingertip the X2F, obviously, and the ULX Prophecy Tarik Small. So, I mean, 3 really good, different fingertip options with my size hands. But I do think that like with smaller hands, you could maybe really get some good palm contact as well, or even claw the X2 Crazylight. So there's definitely options there for you, but really, really buttoned up build quality here in the ULX Prophecy from my first edition of the ULX, and the X2 Crazylights, both the Boardzy, the Randomfrankp. They look great, and they are definitely feeling fantastic in these creator collaboration colorways. So guys, that is going to be it for this one. I do love that Pulsar is collabing with some YouTubers as well. It's great to see that they get a shot, a way to like interact with their community, and it gives us more colorways to choose from. So it's cool to see. If you guys are supporters of Randomfrankp or Boardzy, definitely check out their mice, especially if they match your setups. The build quality of both were great out of the box, and the ULX Tarik, surprisingly, really enjoying using this as well. It is something for me that I can fingertip quite nicely, and the build and the aesthetic, I think, is definitely some of the best that Finalmouse has put out to date, and leaps and bounds above my original ULX, which is great to see as well. So guys, if you support them, help them out, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.